I'd like to read from Matthew chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25, starting in verse 14. So, thinking about the parable of the talents. Familiar story to us. Matthew chapter 25, starting in verse 14. It reads, "For it is just like a man about to go on a journey, who called his own slaves and entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, each according to his own ability. And he went on his journey. The one who had received the 5 talents immediately went and did business with them, and earned 5 more talents. In the same way, the one who had received the 2 talents earned 2 more. But he who received the 1 talent went away and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time, the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them." Okay, and so we'll stop there for just a moment. If you read on to the rest of the story, you see how each one of these slaves managed to do. Each one of these slaves was essentially, in today's terms, basically an investor, right? They were given an amount of money, and for their boss, they went and they invested this money, and then they had to go and explain how they did with it, right? And so we see how each one of those servants did as we read on through. You have the one who had 5, and he did well. The one who had 2, he did well. And the one who only had 1 did not do so well. And ultimately, they were rewarded according to how they did. And I want us to think more about the first half of this parable. The one where the master is giving out these talents, and then the different servants have to go and do things with them, right? In many ways, this is like our situations that we find ourselves in today. If you've ever had a job, at some point in that job, you have to explain to your boss what you did. Sometimes that's at the end of the day, depending on the job. Maybe it's once a week, or every 2 weeks, or at the end of the month, or maybe it's a different interval. But at some point in your job, your boss comes along and he says, "You've been employed here, so what have you done today? Or what have you done this week? Or what have you done this month?" And so you have to explain to your boss what you did, right? When you go and work a job, there's a task or tasks that you're given, and at the end of the day, you tell your boss, "This is what I did. These are the things that I was able to accomplish." And in the parable here, what we're reading, these talents are representative of the gospel, of the good word. And these talents, the slaves, the servants, they're going out and they're spreading the good word. They're essentially going out with the gospel and they're spreading it. This is the parable that Jesus is explaining here. And the one who doesn't do so well didn't do anything with it. He received the good word and then he didn't share it with anyone. And so he's punished for this because he's not doing anything, right? In the same way, if you were to go to your job and you were to go there and then not do anything, at the end of the day, when you talk to your boss, he would probably be upset with you, right? When he says, "So what did you do all day?" "Well, I didn't do anything." Well, why not, right? Your boss would not be happy about that. And when we typically look at this parable, we are thinking in terms of the gospel, right? And many of us, we think about this and we think, well, at the end of my life, when I have to give an account of myself, I want to be able to tell God that if nothing else, I was able to share the gospel with at least one person. Or perhaps we think if I was able to convince one person to become baptized, I'm not like the lowly servant who didn't do anything with it, right? Many of us set a goal like that, or something to that effect. But I'd like to challenge you tonight to, instead of thinking about your life in the long term, at the end of your life, I want you to think about this message here for a day-to-day basis. Many of us say prayers when we go to sleep at night, or right before bed. We pray to God about different things. And so I'd like to encourage you to try this, to, when you pray at night, give an account of yourself for the whole day. God gave you a day of life. And so what did you do with it? What did you do with the day of life that God has given you? Now, maybe you can't go out and say to God, well, I baptized 3 people today. That would be great if you could, but maybe that's not what you accomplished today. But that doesn't make today a failure. You can say, I sang praises to you. I sang several hymns to praise your name. That's a good thing you can talk about. Perhaps you can talk about the prayers that you said on behalf of someone, right? You knew that there were brothers and sisters in need, and so you prayed for them. You remembered them in your prayers. Or perhaps there's someone you know who's going through a hard time, and you decided, I'm going to reach out to that person, and I'm going to let them know that I'm thinking about them, that I care about their situation. And so you can tell God that I reached out to these brothers and sisters and I encouraged them today. Maybe you can be more active. Maybe you can say, well, I was blessed with a lot of good things, whatever it may be. God blessed me with something extra, whether it was tomatoes in your garden or something like that, and I was able to share those with someone who didn't have that thing. So I took of my own wealth, of my own property or possessions or whatever it is, and I shared that. And I was able to help someone. There are lots of small things that we can do on an everyday basis, encouraging one another, edifying one another, praying for one another. There's all kinds of good deeds that we can do for one another. Perhaps all you were able to do today was to share a cup of water in Jesus' name with someone, right? But that is something that is praiseworthy. That is something that's good, something that you can do. And so at the end of the day, think about all the things that you were able to do. And if that list is a little short, if that list seems a little embarrassing, well then maybe tomorrow you try and make that list a little bit longer, right? Maybe you say a few more prayers, or maybe you think, well, I can't get around very easily today, but maybe I can reach out to someone that I know is struggling and let them, hey, how are you doing today? I know that you've been going through a hard time. Why don't you tell me about it? How are you doing? And let them know that you recognize the things that they're going through. If nothing else, you can certainly do that and encourage someone. At the end of the day, talk to your boss, talk to God, your master, and tell him about the things that you've done with the day of life that he's given to you. If you do that on an everyday basis, when you get to the end of your life and you have to give an accounting of yourself, I promise you, you will not find yourself in the situation of the lazy servant. If you have made sure that you are doing something every single day for God to further his will, then when you reach the end of your life, you won't be in danger at all of being found to be that lazy servant. You'll have a lifetime of things that you can talk about, things that you've done, things that you've tried to do to further God's will. And so instead of looking at this parable of the talents and thinking about it over a lifelong journey, think about it as a day-to-day journey. And try that tonight and see if that's able to change your life. Sometimes we need that extra little bit of encouragement. We have this time of invitation as one way to be able to reach each other, as one way that we are able to try and encourage one another. Because we all slip up from time to time, and sometimes we need prayers and we need help to get through a temptation or a difficult time in our lives. Sometimes we need to know that brothers and sisters still care about us, and so we have a time where we can come forward and we can ask for prayers, we can ask for help in whatever form it may take. We often set aside this time for baptism. And looking out, I know that no one here is in need of that at the moment, but certainly you can be thinking about those who maybe you know who are in need of that, and you can reach out and you can encourage them to take those first steps. If there's any way that we can help you tonight, I'd encourage you to make it known to us, to come forward, to have a seat on the front so we can pray with one another, so that we can carry each other's burdens together. We're about to sing this song, I Am Resolved. And so I want you to strengthen your resolve tonight. We're going to sing all 4 verses of I Am Resolved. Won't you stand as we sing?